Another word that you're using a lot lately that I want to jump into is transcendence.
Yeah, yeah. That's I guess that's the sense of, I think it was Heidegger, or somebody called it the sense of being, with a capital B, which means you're not just existing, you're being, you're the fruition, you're the totality of your experiences, and you share them, so that people are drawn into the story that is you, story that you have created and are creating. Um, Transcendence means to me to be contemplative of, and attracted to and drawn to the things that are above the mundane of Earth, the sublime, which is the opposite of the mundane, the sublime in art, in women, in travel, in experiences, in memories. That approaches the sublime. That's what science can't approach, can't touch. They can say, oh, well, it's chemicals, synapses firing here, but they don't really know. They cannot tell you why you experience purple as a certain way. Science cannot tell you that. They just, they say that eventually, once we know the brain more, we will be able to tell you that. They may be right, but I don't think so. I don't think that that science can dig right down into the very essence of everything. I just don't believe it. I think there's a transcendent quality that we touch on now and then. That's those moments with a girl where she touched your hand and it was electric. That's the sublime. That's touching the transcendent moments of life that are not just going to pay your bills and
Yeah.
surfing Facebook.
That's what I wanted to ask you more about. Like, how would you kind of paint a picture of a moment of transcendence to a young man that hears that word and thinks, well, I don't really know if I've experienced transcendence, or if my kind of peak experience really matches what you're talking about here.
Well, I think that we get moments of it from things like music. Music is, I think, is the closest thing. It's the shortest path to the divine, to something that makes us feel. Music has no agency between us and the divine. I don't know how to say it. It is a direct path, and that's why a certain passage of music will move somebody, or give them goosebumps. What the French called frisson, It gives them some kind of, it moves you in some way. It moves your heart and maybe brings a tear to your eye. That is touching. Science can't explain that. What happens in your body and your system and the vibration of you that brings that tear to your eye? That is, everybody has reflected in known moments like that, or the moment when you won the championship with your buddies, and that euphoria. That's a transcendent moment. Or I'll tell a quick story. I remember when I was in my early 20s, maybe 20 or 19, I was at a bar, and I was rejected, and I was standing alone. I wasn't even rejected, because I wasn't even approaching. But I was just completely lonely, and all the girls that I had dated and talked to and stuff like that were just kind of like, nothing was working, and I thought, I was despairing of getting a girl in my life. And I walked out of this bar one time, and they were sitting on the curb, down on the sidewalk sort of thing. It was dark out, and people milling about, and I saw this beautiful, beautiful girl that I'd never seen anything like in my life. She's just like an angel sitting there, like, wow. She's sitting there just looking off distance. It's before cell phone, so she wasn't on her cell phone. And I had to talk to her, even though I was like afraid of, I would never approach, but I had to. And I just said to her, I said, hey, I can't remember what I said, but she looked up at me and she smiled, and she said, come sit beside me. And I sat beside her, and she said she was leaving town that night. She's from another city or another town. And she asked me, who are you? And tell me about you. And I talked to her for half an hour. And I tell you and then she had to go. And I thought about her every single day for probably years.
Cool.
That moment with that girl who opened up her heart to me, who was vulnerable to me, who smiled at me, who gave me her eyes, gave me her smile, and her warmth, and opened up to me, which I never received. There's always these girls, like, trying to get them convinced to go on a date with you, sort of thing. And just the memory of that beauty sitting there like an angel, I never forgot it. That was a transcendent moment.
How long did you talk with her for?
I said half an hour, but now that I remember, it was like 5-10 minutes.
Yeah. Of course, like, I think one of the qualities of those transcendent moments is time slows down, right? So kind of,
well, true, yeah.
Who knows? Who knows how long the thing
lasted?
And
I know as anybody else that she's just a girl, and if I got to know her, then she would be a friend or otherwise or whatever, right? But the moment of her opening, for the first time ever, being sweet to me, and I thought, why are women not like this? Why are men not like this? So it just really affected me, and there's a moment I never forgot. That was a transcendent moment where I felt like I touched something that's beyond the pale, something that's larger than life. It's an experience larger than life.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I imagine you could have an experience like that nowadays, and I doubt you would dismiss or diminish the beauty of it, but it probably wouldn't, linger in your memory for too much longer. But at the same time, you say beyond the pale, it's like, what, my life experience, my worldview is kind of like this. And as soon as I experience something that is kind of out here, like, wow, I'd never felt such care and such empathy before, ever.
Right.
All of a sudden, it's like, what? My experience of it is like, my mind goes into overdrive trying to understand, like, what the hell just happened? My current worldview cannot describe such beauty. I need to completely imagine how I conceive of the entire world. And then my worldview shifts. I grow. I kind of...
Yeah. Well, then the desire and the burning hunger is born in you. And you say, I want that. I want to experience that again. And if that desire is so strong enough, you decide to spend the rest of your life seeking out those moments and, get this, creating them. Imagine there's somebody on this earth that's saying, wow, I had a transcendent experience with this man I met. Wow. Not just finding them and experiencing them, but creating them where you go. Creating this better energy and this better experience so that the people that meet you and encounter you, the women, for instance, they go away and say, I met an incredible man. I've thought about him for years. Wow. That's in reach of men. But they have to have the seeker mentality. They have to go on their hero's journey. They have to go up against the elements. It's the way it is.
Yeah. There's a book that came into my hands, by the way, called Your Brain on Music by a guy called Daniel Levitan, I believe. And I haven't read it, so I'm not quite sure how much information he gets, but I think he's exploring, the synapses behind music and
it's cool.
Its transportational quality. What I wondered was, I kind of felt surprised that you said music is the direct path rather than women.
Wow. Yeah, it's all equated. It's all beauty in my mind.
Right.
Well, what I mean is music affects us on a neurological level, whatever, on an energetic level. I don't know, I have this theory. I'm going to be writing about it in my next book. The thesis is this, that music, because of the vibrations, bass music is vibration. And when I talk to women, it's not the words I'm saying, it's the vibration of my voice that vibrates on her. It's for sure, that's all it is. It's the vibration. The vibration, when I look at it with my eyes, it's the vibration. And music is just pure vibration. It's just things that are plucked, burned, or whatever, right? But music has a quality that the Greeks talked about, Pythagoras in particular, called harmony. Harmony is another word that we need to start incorporating into the Ars and Rada vocabulary. Because harmony is incredible. That's when you're in a relationship, is in harmonious. It's in harmony. Like, and the thing about music, like if you imagine dancers on the stage, like ballet dancers, they're moving around. ballet dancers move, and it's all a whole. It's harmonic. It's like it's all aligned. They're in sync, and there's a beauty to the movement and the synchronicity of it all. Except that occasionally, because of the nature of it, when one dancer moves behind the other in their movement and moves past there like this, for one split second, the dancer behind is obscured. So there's an obscurity that happens as the movement of the stage. Music doesn't have that quality. Music has notes that dance and flow around each other like this, but they don't obscure each other. They harmonically harmonize with each other. No note is obscured by the whole. And it's an interesting thing to me, and I think there's some quality of music that the harmony of it is every layer of it is available to us instantly. You can add 6 notes onto one note, but it doesn't obscure it. I don't know. It's weird thinking about these things. I'm being weird. I know. But harmony, yeah. If your life's not in harmony, that alignment I talked about, there's a harmony there. And if you don't feel it, if it's not harmonizing, then something is out of tune, and you got to fix it.
As a life thing. It's funny you talk about a relationship being in harmony, because how many guys do we run into who might have a beautiful girl or be with a girl that they really liked, but the relationship is anything but harmonious.
Yeah, like one-sided, for instance.
Yeah,
you like her more than she likes you. That's not in harmony. That's off tune. That's 2 notes that are playing, but they're not vibrating in harmony.
And a bum note or a musician playing off tune hurts. Like, it jars. Like, if the volume is turned up, it's literally painful to listen to. Yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite line in this section is you saying that, well, you said, first of all, you want a woman to be thinking about you when you're not around, to have impact.
Yeah, wow. Huh?
And you talk about having, what was it you said? Transcendent experiences. It's possible for a woman to be going around the world saying, wow, I just had a transcendent experience with that man, and I've been thinking about it for years and years and years. And you said it's totally within the realm of possibility of most men to be creating that.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
It is, absolutely. I believe it all in my heart.
You've been talking a lot about legacy as well. And you came out with this question, which is, what exists because of me?
Mm-hmm.
And is there a link in your mind between this topic of transcendence and legacy?
Yeah, there is. Because if you don't think about legacy if you're not thinking about the transcendent. You just can't. There's the same thing. Did I lose you, Jordan?
No, I'm still here.
Okay.
We've got some crazy dogs in our pound over here in my apartment complex. So every time someone new checks into the guest house next door, they kind of go crazy. So I mute it.
What I was saying is, like, legacy and transcendence go hand in hand. You cannot think about legacy if you're not thinking of the transcendent and the sublime and the divine, because legacy is that. Legacy is, imagine this. Christianity has the concept of the afterlife and going to heaven. The Greeks had the concept of heroic deeds living on and your name being spoken after you. All of it is legacy. So legacy is really thinking about what's going to be left behind after you're gone. And people that just eat and sleep and go through the motions, get cancer and die, they're not thinking of legacy. They're just thinking of, like, okay, what, the next thing they're going to buy. So it's having an impact on the transcendent level, not just with people that come into your experience, but people that come in after your experience, legacy.
Yeah.
It's interesting to me.
But I think you're not talking on the level of, you know what, I wrote 30 Kindle ebooks and they're there on Amazon, and 2 of them were bestsellers for a few weeks, and I got this website with, you know, a few products that you can buy. I imagine you're not talking about legacy in those terms.
No, because, no, not at all. I'm talking about what you created in this life, like what exists because of you. And it could be a great child, for instance. That's a great legacy, you know, if it's a chosen legacy. If it's a lot of people have children and then just go through the motions because it just happened. It's just what life does, right? If it's a mindful thing, for me, it's like the legacy is that I would want for me is like that the experiences I've learned and the stories I've told can influence somebody else when they're young and starting out in their life. And that is more value for me than any kind of money, for instance, you know?
People's experiences.
Yeah, the knowledge that independent of me, somebody is still gaining some knowledge or understanding or a leg up or just a hand. Because of something I tried to understand for myself when I was young.
Yeah.
You know?
Takes me back to the final stage of the hero's journey, you know, where he returns to the Shire and talks about his story, and his story actually has a spirit to transmit to the people. And the whole thing of traveling around the world and your journey actually impacting somebody else.
Yeah.
Like you come back to your hometown and you tell the story, and it's, you know, half your mates don't end up going to Thailand or whatever because you tell the stories of the cheap booze and the crazy shows that you saw out here when you were in Bangkok.
Yeah.
But your story actually moves them in terms of igniting that fire of, actually, I really want to experience something different, not holiday.
Exactly. Yeah. That's where it's at.